Hey guys, it's RJ. Great to be here with you. This is the Answers to Students video module for April 2010. And again, my apologies for getting behind here. This is a great question from a student who wanted to know some key major steps for the newbie to attain mastery. No matter what level of speed seduction you're at, I think you can go through the various elements I'm about to unveil and reveal and use them to polish your game. And if you're a newbie, of course, these will be of great use to you. So here's his question: how does a newbie attain mastery? How do you move from the beginning steps to getting really good with the stuff? So I say there's 7 elements to mastery of speed seduction. We're going to go through each one in detail, but let me review them briefly here. There's understanding, there's state control, there's rehearsal and practice, there's designing vibe and meaning, there's developing a useful orientation, there's the practice to recognize mistakes, and then there's number 7, which you already have, so I won't be going through it here, and that's getting the best damn coaching. You've already got that. Let me talk about the elements of understanding. First of all, you understand how women create their emotions. You get that the speed seduction language patterns, they're not something I made up. They're not something I channeled from a space alien or got from some ancient text. They're just reflections of how women think to themselves anyway. They're accurate reflections, models of how women structure their internal world and also how women speak to themselves and to other women. That's why they work. The next understanding you have is that it's most important to think about the emotional states and you want women in, and the flow of feelings you want women to be feeling. They're far more important than the actions you want women to take. And we as men are trained to be action-oriented. How can I get her into bed? How can I get her to blow me? My point with speed seduction is if you get her feeling the right flow of emotions and get her in the right emotional states, those actions will flow naturally. If she's feeling horny, turned on, wanting to be taken by you, all the actions that you want her to do will naturally follow. Also, think of women's psyches, their mind, as having separate compartments. We as men, when it comes to desire, we have one big compartment. It's called, I want to get laid now. Think of women's minds, and this is only a metaphor, as a ship with different watertight compartments. And those are compartments, you want to get to the ones that contain her emotions and her ways of thinking in the areas of desire, fantasy, connection, indulgence, arousal, daring. So the speed seduction language patterns and constructs are ways of opening up those compartments to unleash the energy and the thought patterns that are locked in there so you can gain access to them and link them to you. Next big piece, huge, state control. You have to learn to control, and I would even say design your state. Now, this means that you not only know how to develop the positive states, like being grounded in your body, having a relaxed overall body awareness, being focused outward, being able to layer humor into your confidence, but also that you develop, and this is key, a good working relationship with uncertainty and confusion and frustration. Because you're going to be feeling from time to time some of those things when you're with women and also when you're by yourself trying to figure out what the fuck went on. So state control is not just about building positive states, but building a state that gives you a good relationship, and we'll get to this a little later, with uncertainty and confusion and frustration. Very important. Next big piece, rehearsal and practice. You develop a good strategy, so before you even go out, you rehearse how you're going to sound, how you're going to look, how you're going to act, how you're going to react. You rehearse your movements, your gestures. You rehearse it out loud. But also, you understand you have to go out and practice in the real world as much as you can, wherever you can. I hope this is hitting home for you guys. If you don't have some kind of rehearsal practice before you go out and sarge, you're really missing out. Design your vibe and meaning. In an area of life that's very challenging, where you're working on developing the skill set, one thing that can help before you even get the skill set down is to get the vibe and meaning right. If you get the vibe and meaning right, the ironic thing is you'll come across as confident even if you don't yet have the skills, and the skills will come more easily to you. So I've said this before time and again, the best meaning to give your sarging efforts is a fun learning frame. Not I've got to make it work, or the bitch better like me, or what if this doesn't work for me, but let's go have some fun and see what I can do in the world. It's not a do or die mission, it's a fun experiment. And this brings up the next big piece, which is get the most useful orientation. First and foremost, notice what works. I've said this before, I'll say it again many, many times. In an area of life that's been deeply challenging, it takes training to recognize when you're doing something right. So you learn to recognize even the smallest little piece. Let's say you go to the mall to Sarge Women and you can't get yourself even to talk. At least you went. So that's a small thing that you did right. That's the most useful orientation. First, you see what you did right. And second, this is key for you guys, you develop an action orientation. You get that ultimately you're not going to find answers in your head. Speech seduction has no answers. It has potential answers. They only become quickened, fertilized into real information for you through your actions and experiments in the world. So many of you guys have been retarded, and I don't mean retarded, but in the sense of held back in this area of life simply and only because you haven't given yourself sufficient permission to learn with your experiments. You maybe do one experiment and then spend 1,000 hours trying to figure out what happened. No, you've got to change the ratio between the amount of thinking you do and the amount of action you take. You also have to give yourself the opportunity to have multiple experiments. Data information filters up through many different experiments. One more thing. Understand that the world offers no guarantees other than dying. So that being the case, you will become determined to design your life, how it's going to feel, what's going to be important to you, how you're going to decide what you can and can't do in the world. You're not going to let your past or your peers or even your present situation dictate to you what your choices are going to be, who you can be, who you can have in your life, who you can have fun playing with. This is the big one, this next one. Develop a practice to cultivate consciousness. This is why I urge a meditation practice as taught by my teacher Shinzen Young, because if you can develop the ability to cultivate this witness consciousness, then two things happen. You can see what you did wrong and where you've been going wrong without getting upset by it and extract maximum information. But second, when you get really good at this, you'll begin to see these old patterns of thinking and feeling and reacting arising before they really take control, so you can stop them before you do them. I'll say it again. They will arise so subtly, and you'll notice them as they're arising so subtly that they'll no longer distort your perception and drive your behavior, so you can actually stop the mistakes before they happen. That's a huge breakthrough that will spread out through every area of your life. Finally, I should say, you want to get the best coaching, and if you're at this program, you've already got that. Let me know what you think about this.